Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to your international experience. My name is Amanda. If you're currently living in a foreign country like the US, the UK, or any other foreign country in this world, and your current status in that country is about to expire, and you're seriously confused, worried, sick about your next step after that status expires, don't worry, your girl got you. I got you. So just keep watching. If you don't fall into this boat, but you still want to know about the available opportunities to move to Canada, then keep watching this one. Now, let's get right into the video. So I'm sure that when you watch my last video about the path and process as well as the requirements to become a permanent resident in Canada, you must have thought to yourself, wow, I barely meet any of the requirements or most of the requirements to become a permanent resident in Canada, so how am I going to move to Canada? Well, this is why I'm making this video. In this video, I'll be talking about the options that are available for you to move to Canada, especially when you do not yet qualify for permanent residence. And the options that I'll be discussing will also help you eventually qualify for permanent residence in the country. Well, that is what I'm hoping. So there are two main ways by which you can move to Canada before qualifying for permanent residence in Canada. And these are through work or by going back to school. So typically, if you do not have several years of work experience in the field that is in high demand, keyword, a field that is in high demand, and if you're not a permanent resident or citizen of Canada, it's going to be very hard for you to get a job from outside of Canada because a lot of employers typically like to hire people that are already in the country. So it will be very hard to move to Canada through the work option. And that is why I recommend going back to school when you move to Canada before, looking for ways to get a job and eventually qualify for permanent residence. The good thing is that with Canada, cost of education is relatively cheaper when compared to countries like the UK and the US, and you can also go to school for even just a year or two, and you don't have to go and get like a bachelor's, go back and start from scratch and get a bachelor's or a master's. You can just go to a college, which is the equivalent of a community college in America. So you can go to a college here in Canada and then get your diploma and eventually apply for a job, get your work experience, and then eventually qualify for permanent residence. So in my case, for example, when I was still in America, my work permit was about to expire while I was working, and I was trying to look at my available options or ways by which I could move to Canada because I knew that it was easier to get permanent residence in Canada. So I first tried by going the work route. I applied to several jobs here in Canada, but no employer responded to me. And I know that's mainly because I was an international student and I didn't have many years of work experience in my field, and my field at the time was accounting. So that's why I decided to move to Canada and go back to school before eventually getting a job. And honestly, I wasn't ready to go back to school for many years because I was so done with school. Like, I had just got my master's at the time, and so I had been in school for quite a bit, having done my bachelor's and my master's back to back. So I was definitely ready to be done with school, and I wasn't willing to do more than a year of school. So I came across my program here in Canada and applied for it. Unfortunately, I got my admission and my visa, so that is how I found myself here. So yeah, like it's so much easier if you go back to school when you move to Canada before getting a job. So if you already have a high level of education like a bachelor's or a master's, I'll personally recommend that you should go for a 1 or 2 year program. Ideally a 2-year program because you get 3 years of work permit after you graduate from a 2-year program. I mean, with a 1-year program you still get 1 year work permit after graduation, but the good thing with getting 3 years of work permit is it gives you more time to put your documents together and apply for permanent residence while still being able to work legally in the country. So you can go for either of the two, but personally, I'll recommend going for a 2-year program. And like I said, cost of education here is relatively cheaper than countries like the US or the UK. So with most programs that I came across in like various schools and various colleges here in Ontario province, there were about 17,000 Canadian dollars per year for the program, and most of these programs are like 2 to 3 years. So 17,000 Canadian dollars, that's about 13,000 US dollars. So it's pretty much what you spend, or even like less than what you spend a semester for a program in America. So yeah, it's like much cheaper, or not much cheaper, but it's relatively cheaper. And with masters, you can also look into that option. Masters here, masters programs here are also relatively cheaper. Like the average master's program, the average cost for master's programs that I've seen here in Ontario are about 20,000 Canadian dollars per year for the master's program, and that's about 15,000 US dollars. So it's much cheaper, because 15,000 US dollars, that's like about what you spend per semester for a master's program in the US, for a good master's program in the US. So yeah, like you can definitely consider, you know, doing either a master's or a 1 or 2 year diploma here in Canada. So if you're worried about whether your diploma is going to get you a good job after graduation, you know, maybe instead of having a master's or a bachelor's here, you shouldn't worry about that, because the good thing is a lot of employers actually look for at least a diploma. So I've actually come across a lot of people here in the working class, in the working force, that only have a diploma. Like the only time that, you know, like having a bachelor's or master's here really matters is when you're going, you know, climbing up the corporate ladder, like you want to become a manager or director. But otherwise, even just having a diploma in most professions, take note, in most professions is okay. So you need not worry about that. So one very important advice that I want to give is, when you're looking for programs here in Canada, do not go for what you like. No, go for what is in high demand, because trust me, Canada is a very tough country to get a job in after graduation. So you want to go for a field that is in really high demand. Like I personally, I did accounting in the US, but when I moved here, I switched to data analytics, and that is how it was easy for me to get a job, you know, right after graduation, because like Canada is tough. Like, don't mind all the good things that I've been saying about Canada. It's a tough country to get a job in. So yeah, definitely go for what is in high demand. So in my next video, I'll be discussing some of the fields that are in high demand here in Canada. I'm hoping that this will serve as a guide for you when deciding what program to pursue in the event that you finally decide to move to Canada. So definitely stay tuned for that. Another important point is, go for a program that has a co-op option. Oh my gosh, that is so important. It's so much easier to get a job when you've had like some co-op or internship experience, because most of the time these companies that you're doing a co-op or internship with, they, you know, they look into like keeping you after you're done with your co-op or internship. So you definitely want to go for a program with a co-op option. I personally went for a 1 year program with a co-op option, and that is how I was able to get a job right after graduation. So yeah, like definitely go for a program that has a co-op option. Thank you for taking time to watch this video. I hope that you learned a thing or two from it. If you have any comments or questions, as always, please drop them in the comment section below. If you have any video suggestions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below, and I'll be glad to consider. Thank you once more, and stay tuned for my next video. Bye.